Sunday, December 14, 2014. This is Mercedes Diesel Guy, and this is my 1983 Mercedes 240 Diesel, picking up where I left off last week. I really didn't make it out here much last week. It got late, and it's certainly been very cold, especially at night. The long and the short of it is that I want to do some maintenance and repairs to the fuel system, and I want to replace the rear shocks. And for both of those things, I actually need the rear seat out of the car. So, that being the case, it really doesn't make any sense for me to completely install the interior, only to have to take out the back seat and the rear parcel shelf at a later point, just to do those repairs. It just makes sense to take care of these now, and then continue on with the interior. Like I said, I do want to replace the rear shocks, and they are accessed, through these openings here. So, or at least the top is. So the rear seat's got to be out. And as for the fuel system, just to make a long story short, the original owner, or the previous owner of the car, told me, almost 3 years ago when I bought it, that the fuel tank was caving in on itself. So what he did was he drilled a pinhole in the fuel filler cap to relieve the vacuum that was building up in the system. Now, the reason this is happening is either the vent valve underneath the car just isn't functioning properly anymore, and or the fuel tank screen at the bottom is clogged and really not doing its job anymore. So I'm actually going to be replacing both of those. And in order to do that, especially with the fuel tank screen, I need the fuel tank empty. So basically, under the parcel shelf here, you can see the fuel tank down here, and what you see straight down there is the fuel tank, the fuel gauge sending unit. There's a plug there which you unplug, and then the whole unit just unscrews and lifts out. So that's how I'm going to drain the fuel tank. I'm going to take out the sending unit and put a suction hose in there and basically suction the tank dry. So I'm going to get to work now, and like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is drain the fuel tank and work on the fuel system. And then if I have enough time today, I'm going to try to replace the rear shocks. And if I have any more time after that, I will get the rest of this interior stuff out and start on carpeting. Okay, I've pumped the tank pretty much dry. I got between 7 and 8 gallons out of the tank. So what I'm going to do now is get the rear of the car up on jack stands, and then I'm going to replace the tank screen, the tank exit hose, and the air purge valve on the underside of the car. Okay, so here I am under the car, and as you can see, everything is nice and clean under here. This is because a couple of years back, one of the first things I did with this car was I cleaned the whole underside of the car, and it's paying off now because it's rather pleasant to work underneath here, or at least relatively pleasant. So, got a couple of things going on. I've got the tank screen here, and I have drained the fuel tank. I wouldn't be surprised if I still get a little bit out of this hose, but I have a small bucket underneath here, so once I release this hose, I'm going to drain whatever's left into that bucket, and then I'll replace the tank screen. And I want to show you what I have right here. Now, this here is the factory engine fuel supply line. And those of you who were following along my progress would know that, once again, one of the earlier things I did with this car was I ended up replacing a few lines over the driver's side rear wheel. In the wheel housing there are actually several lines. The fuel supply, the fuel return line, and the rear brake line. And years of exposure to road salt actually rotted those lines through, including this fuel line right here. So what I did was I completely replaced that section of brake line, but for the fuel line, I cut the steel line off where it was damaged up there, and I actually ran a hose all the way from there here to the tank screen. But because of this fitting here on the tank screen, I couldn't just attach the hose onto there. So what I did was I cut out the tube of a ballpoint pen, and I used that to brace the lines here. This is not permanent. It was never meant to be permanent, but it allowed me for the past couple of years to get the car in and out of the garage. So let me show you what I have to replace this. I actually went down to the auto parts store and I got some brass fittings here. I did want a single piece that wouldn't have been so heavy, but I couldn't find a single 5/16 inch hose barb that would do the job. So I got these two ends and ran them to this coupler fitting. So this should do the job just fine. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to replace the tank screen and this hose and this bridge right here, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, I have the new tank screen in with the new exit hose, and I actually also refit the rubber boot, which you didn't see before because I took this off maybe 2 years ago when I was originally patching this line. So the new exit hose is longer than the old one. I'm not sure if I cut the old one, but no matter. Now I routed it over the differential, and I'm holding it in place here with a couple of zip ties just so the whole thing doesn't move around. And I've got the new brass fitting in place here, and this is held together with some hose clamps. So this should all be nice and solid and good to go. So the only other thing I'm going to do down here today is I'm going to replace the fuel tank vent valve, which you see hanging right here. So right now I just have the old one basically zip tied in place, so I'm going to take that off and just install the new one, and then that'll be it for the day. So this is Mercedes Diesel Guy. Thanks for watching.